Before measuring the specific gravity of a urine sample, the urinometer must be calibrated in distilled water. The specific gravity of distilled water is 1. To calibrate the urinometer, fill the urinometer vial 2/3 full with room temperature distilled water. Carefully lower the float into the vial. Do not drop it into the vial as the float has a weighted end and this will cause it to break. Impart a slight spin to make sure it is floating in the middle of the vial and is not stuck to the wall. Try not to wet the stem of the urinometer as this will throw off the reading. After the float stabilizes, read the bottom of the meniscus as shown. Make sure your eye is level with the meniscus. If the urinometer reads 1, calibration is complete. Most urinometers in the lab are calibrated to 20 degrees Celsius. If the observed specific gravity for distilled water is not 1, then record the temperature of the water. Shown here are the adjustments you must make for samples not held at 20 degrees Celsius. It is important to note that your lab room is typically warmer than 20 degrees Celsius, so it is likely that you will have to make some adjustment. Here are the steps we must go through to adjust the reading on this sample. Since the urinometer did not read 1, the temperature of the distilled water was taken and found to be 35 degrees Celsius. The calculation shows a correction factor of 0.005. 0.005 should be added to the urinometer reading since the water temperature was above 20 degrees Celsius. In this case, this correction factor must be added to all subsequent urine sample readings. Here are the steps we must go through to adjust the reading on this sample. The calculations show that the correction factor of 0.002 needed to be subtracted from the reading since the temperature of distilled water was lower than 20 degrees Celsius. In this case, 0.002 would also need to be subtracted from the subsequent urine sample readings. After calibration is complete, we are ready to measure the specific gravity of urine samples. Following the same procedure as before, fill the urinometer vial 2/3 full with the urine sample. Carefully lower the float into the sample and impart a slight spin on the stem so that it does not stick to the side of the vial. Again, try not to wet the stem of the urinometer as this will throw off the reading. The observed specific gravity is 1.011. This number does not need correction because the experiment was conducted in a cool room and the calibration reading for distilled water was 1 without having to use a correction factor. After testing the urine sample, pour it back into its container. Rinse the vial thoroughly with water before testing another urine sample. When you are finished testing all of your samples, clean the urinometer vial and float with soap and water.